Dark Souls is not a game for the faint of heart. It can be brutally difficult and has no doubt caused a mountain of controllers to meet their early demise. One version of the game is aptly named Dark Souls Prepare to Die Edition. If that doesn't scare you off, you're a certified psycho. Welcome to the club. When you first start Dark Souls, you're shown a beautiful cutscene introducing the gods of the world. They're portrayed as giant, almighty beings who destroyed the race of dragons in a legendary war to decide who would reign supreme. These gods ushered in a new age, the Age of Fire, and began a cycle of sacrifice to keep the fire going, unnaturally prolonging their rule. But that's not you. You're an undead human, thrown away in a prison and left to rot until the end of days. You're not an important character in this world. You're no god, no great hero. But your fortune hasn't run out quite yet. Thanks to the actions of a fellow undead, you're freed from the asylum and sent on a quest to rekindle the first flame which has powered the Age of Fire. But if you know anything about Dark Souls or the Souls-like genre it spawned, you know this is not going to be a fairy tale adventure. These games are some of the most unforgiving and downright diabolical experiences you will ever have. One of the key features of Souls games is the feeling of powerlessness they instill in you. Much like survival horror games, Dark Souls is designed to make you always feel like you're at a disadvantage. Every single enemy you come across has the power to kill you. Every time you walk into a seemingly tame new room, you're acutely aware of the fact that at a moment's notice, it might reveal itself to be a death trap that you have no hope of escaping. Ambushes, sudden sheer drops off the map, environmental hazards, and the overwhelming gauntlet of enemies seeking your demise or the law of the land, and you will either obey or be executed. But these are just speed bumps in your slog through this nightmare. They are insignificant compared to the solid brick walls that await you beyond this ominous fog. When people think about Souls-like games, I guarantee you the first thing they think about are the legendarily challenging boss fights. Take for example the most infamous boss fight in Dark Souls 1, Ornstein and Smo. These two represent a turning point for each player in their journey. You will either subject yourself to the fire and die dozens of times, in the process being remade into a weapon strong enough to finally slay these impossible foes, or this will be the end of the line for you. There's no getting around it. You could run past every mob in the game and avoid every hazard, but some bosses must be conquered in order to complete your quest. And the only way to beat them is through trial and error, dying countless horrific deaths while you learn their movements, the timing of their attacks, when to dodge, when to heal, until eventually by the skin of your teeth you barely manage to eke out a victory over them as you let out a primal scream at the top of your lungs. And then you take one step into the next area and get slaughtered by the first enemy you come across. Welcome to Dark Souls. These challenging encounters are coupled with the burden of having to physically carry your experience with you everywhere you go. When you die, you drop all the experience you were carrying. Should you fail to reach your corpse and collect that EXP after reviving, it's gone forever. There's no rewind, no save points you can reload, everything here is permanent. Dark Souls takes one of the core elements of RPGs, the ability to level and grind up to overcome difficulty, and shows you that not even that is safe from its death grip. Now if those elements are the meat and cheese of these games, then the bread that holds this morbid sandwich together is the overwhelmingly oppressive atmosphere. The world is, well, and it's not just the Fromsoftware games. Look at Neo, Code Vein, Remnant from the Ashes, Mortal Shell. These games are visually depressing. They're drawn with dreary colors and there's almost always a lack of light. The structures you find in Dark Souls are hollow, abandoned places that were clearly once home to a thriving civilization. But by the time you arrive, they're all gone. Lost to either the passage of time or to some horrible tragedy that befell them. All that's left are crumbling remains filled with thoughtless ghouls, and sadly, the forgotten shells of the many people who have long since given up trying to survive their cruel reality. Dark Souls weaves together its immersive atmosphere and difficulty through the way it handles death. You, the player, suffer from the undead curse. As the first flame which sustains all life fades, more and more people fall victim to the curse. It causes humans to continuously be revived upon death and compels them toward a perpetual cycle of violence. As this goes on, undead humans lose their willpower, memories, and humanity in a process called hollowing. Eventually, they completely lose their sense of self, becoming mindless hollows that are left to aimlessly wander the earth for eternity. Hollowing occurs to those without purpose, who have completely given in to hopelessness. As you play Dark Souls 1, you'll come across the bodies of many other undead wearing armor just like yours. You'll find them carrying items that will prove useful on your quest. You come to realize that many of these undead are just like you. These are the remains of people who have followed the same path you are. As you progress through the game, they'll leave behind better weapons, bigger souls. But regardless of how far they got, how strong they once were, one by one, they all gave into despair and hollowed. Dark Souls is a game that wants you to die, and you will, again and again. But more than that, it's a game that wants you to keep trying. If Fromsoftware wanted you to quit, they wouldn't have designed the difficulty to be challenging but fair. If this world truly wanted to crush your hope, it wouldn't give you a second chance to go get back your EXP and try again. If you were meant to fall into the cold darkness, you would not be constantly risen in the light of a warm bonfire. There's no limit to how many times you can revive. No matter how bleak it gets, life will continue so long as you choose to pick up the controller and start walking forward again. Stay safe out there, friends, and don't you dare go hollow.